Thank you for taking the time to watch this podcast, developed by Cycling Victoria to assist clubs in becoming more inclusive and broadening their membership base. We will cover a number of areas including policy, people, facilities, coaching, communications, and looking at different participation options to cater for different groups. Firstly, we will look at policy. There are a number of different policies that your committee and your members need to be aware of. These help to inform the actions you take in regards to risk management, member protection, and can assist in developing an inclusive culture. The Cycling Australia Member Protection Policy ensures that all members are treated fairly and helps the club to adhere to legislation around discrimination and inclusion. Being familiar with this is a great foundation for an inclusive culture. The Cycling Australia Code of Conduct outlines the expectations the cycling community has on members and clubs. This is often overlooked, but it is essential that your club members understand this. The Play by the Rules workshops are online modules which educate members in what it means to be inclusive. These are a great resource, and Cycling Victoria strongly encourage that you and your members take part. Club Help is a web-based survey tool which assesses a club's performance in a number of areas, including governance, policy, and facilities. This provides a snapshot of where you're at, and it can also assist in identifying any problem areas or items which may need attention. All of these resources and links to the Play by the Rules and Club Help activities can be found at the bottom of the podcast news article on the Cycling Victoria website. Next, we will look at one of our most important areas, people. People with the right mindset are the one sure way of creating an inclusive culture. Welcoming officers are a great way of making sure that potential new members get the right information early and are given the best possible introduction to your club. Ensuring this person has the right communication skills and a knowledge of what is happening in and around your club can be a great asset. Discussing issues around inclusion with your members can be a great way of bringing people along for the ride, and it can also expand the idea pool and gather differing opinions. Keeping the discussion on topic and broad is essential in the early stages. Along the way, you may identify people who are interested in assisting you with your plans. If your club already has people with disabilities involved, these people can be a great starting point for inclusive culture changes. Speak with these members about their experience so far and also about what the club could do better. Next on our list is one of the more tangible topics, facilities and access. This cannot always be changed easily, but it is essential that you understand not only your club facility issues, but that you are able to sell your strong points. Looking at your facility through an accessible lens and clearly listing issues and strengths can be a great starting point. Looking at not only whether facilities are wheelchair accessible, but also looking at signage for the hearing impaired or braille labels for people who are blind or visually impaired can give you a clear idea of possible areas of focus. An audit can also help when speaking to council about what your club wants to do. Ensure that when you are speaking to your local council that you clearly state why you are wanting to make these changes or upgrades. If you need assistance in preparing for a meeting with your council, you can contact Cycling Victoria. It is also important that you consider any off-site venues and the issues that these might pose for someone with a disability. Questions you may ask are, do we have accessible toilets? Do we have car parking options available, and so on. There are a number of things that you can do to ensure that your coaches have the right skills and mindset when supporting people with disabilities. Again, the Play by the Rules activities are an invaluable resource for coaches. This will set them up with a realistic view of what is expected of them, and will also run through some scenarios to make things clearer. Another great resource for coaches are the Cycling Victoria podcasts that can be found on the Cycling Victoria website. These are cycling specific and outline some of the things that coaches need to be aware of when dealing with paracyclists and people with disabilities. Finally, it is essential that coaches understand the CA Member Protection Policy. A sound knowledge of this policy may help coaches eliminate any issues around discrimination and harassment. Communication and getting your club's message across to people with disability can be difficult. However, some small changes in message delivery or different targets can make all the difference. The first step is to look at your current communication methods and assess their success. Hard copy materials are difficult for people with vision impairment to access. Perhaps something online may be more appropriate. The website has a very dark background. Could this be changed to make the information easier to read, and so on. Speaking to Cycling Victoria could be a great next step, along with any disability support organisations you are aware of. Cycling Victoria can also point you in the direction of external organisations who may be able to assist you with making your communications more accessible. Having important club documents online and in hard copy can help different groups to access information more freely. This should be considered for policies, forms, or codes of conduct. Looking at new target groups for your club is a great way to bring in potential new members. Specialist schools are always looking for activities for students, so if there is one nearby, we would encourage you to try and link in with them and get their students involved. And finally, looking at participation options and thinking about new activities will encourage people with disabilities to get involved in your club. Cycling Victoria are always looking for partner clubs when developing programs, and we would welcome any inquiries to us about our All Abilities initiatives. We also run school programs and clinics with different community groups, which we are keen to run with the support of local clubs. Paracycling races are a good option for you to integrate all abilities into current club activities. Again, please contact Cycling Victoria if you're interested in hosting these races. We are always looking for new opportunities for paracyclists. Looking at how your club might be able to include people with disabilities outside of racing or riding can also provide your club with valuable volunteers and assistance. Officiating or administrator roles are great opportunities for people with disability. Thank you for taking the time to watch this podcast. We hope that you found it useful. If you require further information or you have any questions, please contact the Cycling Victoria Development Department. Cycling Victoria would like to acknowledge the ongoing support for the Access for All Abilities initiative from Sport and Recreation Victoria.